Sir. What's up? Well, sir, I have one question. How do I be more creative? Because I see, no, sir, I have my friends. They're like, many of them are very creative. Many of them like are very artistic, or many of them are very creative in problem solving. They come out very different ideas and really really cool ideas. Right? I see different people with different levels of creativity. And for me, you know what? I never come up with ideas. So I do think that. I think some people are just born with good creativity and some people are born with bad creativity. Right? Therefore, if you're born with bad creativity, you can never be creative. Is that correct? Well, thankfully, no. So there is a structured way to be creative, right? And most students don't know this. Most of my students that come up to me, they think like this. They think that, hey, you're either born with creativity or born with good creativity or bad creativity, and they think, you know what, it can't be changed. But the truth is that's not true. There is an actual process to be more creative, and it's called design thinking, right? And by the way, we use that a lot in Stay Curious. All our projects, we use design thinking. I know, shameless plug, but yeah, anyways. So that's how it works. So what is this design thinking and how do you get good at it? So the most common bad way that students use, right, to be creative is they just sit and wait. They think, you know what, I need to be creative here. I need to come up with, let's say it's art or it's music or it's dance or even it's a problem. They're like, you know what, I'm just going to wait for some beautiful idea to just pop up in my head. That's like the most common wrong way to do this. Like I said, there's a better way to do this, and it's a skill. It's like a habit, right? This design thinking process, right, it's a skill and habit that you can build as you practice it, right? And this is that way. So let me take an example, right? So let me take a real world example. This actually happened. So one of my students, she came up to me and she asked me, sir, how do I be more creative? So I wanted to take something more relatable to her. So I asked her, okay, why don't you tell me what you like doing? What do you enjoy doing? She said, sir, I like painting. I enjoy painting. How do I be more creative in painting? I was like, cool, okay. The first step, this is the first step. It's called understanding the problem, okay. So I asked her, okay, what do you mean by creative? Why do you want to, like, what do you mean when you say you want to be more creative in painting? Sir, and she said, sir, I want to find something interesting to paint. I'm only painting boring things. I'm not painting something interesting, right? I want something interesting and fun to create. I was like, okay, cool, let's keep that the problem. So that's the first step, understanding the problem. The next step is called ideation, okay? And to do this, it's basically to come up with ideas. But I'm going to give some constraints here. Okay, I'll tell you why. So I told her, okay, fine, you want to come up with this problem, cool. Now let's come up with some weird ideas. Okay, so I'm going to come up with, so think of 5 objects first. Objects. She's like, okay, cool, car, bike, mountain, hair, etc. 5 random objects. Think of 5 animals. Then she's like, okay, I don't know, dog, cat, horse, peacock, because they like peacock. Okay, cool, whatever, etc., and so on. Then I said, come up with 5 fruits, random fruits. Okay, she's like, I don't know, dragon fruit, grapes, pears, apples, and so on. They're cool. And then come up with 5, yeah, you know the drill, come up with 5 emotions, right? So she came up with her own emotions like anger, happiness, sadness, etc., and so on. Then I asked her to pick one of these 4, right? One from each of these categories. So one object, one animal, one fruit, and one emotion. Okay, so let's say she picked a car, then she picked a cat, then she picked grape, and then she picked sadness. Okay, so these are the 4. Now is probably the most important part. So come up with as many sketches as possible with these 4 things: a car, a cat, a grape, and sadness, like whatever, one of these 4 emotions, right? And then she said these are the 4 things I'll pick, and then she created multiple sketches in 10 minutes. And this is the really important part. So this is the part where you just let go. Don't think about whether it'll work, not work, nothing. Just whatever comes to your mind, spend 10 minutes and put out all your ideas and make it very quick sketches. So at the end of this exercise, she had some, I don't know, 10 different sketches, 10 very quick sketches, right? Now, next comes the third step, and an important step. It's called prioritization. And different projects will have different ways. So in this way, what you do is you take these 10 sketches, and then you first look at those 10 sketches and you choose, right? Based on, okay, you've done all this. Now, what do you like the most? Pick 5 out of those 5. Okay, so she picked 5. And then you show it to some friends or family members and ask, okay, out of these 5, which do you like the most, right? These weird sketches that I've done, what do you like the most? Then friends or family members, one of them pick some. So they pick one. So she finally chooses one. She's chosen one idea that looks like this. And then that's your final idea. And then you sit and you work on it. You spend maybe 3-4 hours building out your painting. So now you have a structured way to come up with new and interesting ideas, right? And this is the process, and you keep practicing this for whatever you want to do, whatever creative process you want to do. You think like this, you'll end up building this creative muscle. Okay, fine, sir, this looks good, but how do I be more creative in my studies, sir? Fine, art and all is okay, but I want to be more in studies, in science or maths, I want to be more creative. How do I do that? For that, you need to learn by doing different projects, and you need to apply this process to come up with more creative and interesting ideas. So let me take an example. So at Securus, for example, we use this project where we ask our students to build a spacesuit. Okay, where there's an astronaut in space and they're trying to move around in space, and they have to build the spacesuit. So they have to come up with the design for the spacesuit. So step number one, what is it? You have to understand the problem, right? So what's the problem? The problem is, like I said, we have to design a spacesuit for an astronaut, let's say for Elon Musk or something, for a spacesuit for an astronaut who's moving in space, right? That's the very clear problem. Okay. Number two, it's the important phase, the ideation phase, right? So to go into the ideation phase, let's put some guardrails, let's put some conditions or some categories, right? So let's think about all the different ways in which, I don't know, let's say how humans move on Earth. Right? How do they move? They use cars, they use bikes, they use planes, of course, and they use, I don't know, hovercrafts, boats. Think about all these ways, write them down, that's one. Next, think about all the ways humans have already come up with in order to move in space, right? International Space Station, maybe spaceships, I know some telescopes use light sails, right? Solar sails, and so on, right? Then think about all the ways animals move on Earth. How do animals move? Animals fly, birds fly, right? Some snakes do some weird thing. There are, I don't know, jellyfish move in a really weird way. Fish move in a very different way. Yeah, so write down all that. Then think about, think about new and innovative ways we see in movies, in fiction and in sci-fi movies. I know, the first thing that comes to my mind is Iron Man, like how Iron Man moves with some weird, stuff, jetpack kind of thing. Or, different superheroes move different ways. Write them all down, like, just to give like some kind of conditions. Okay, now we have that. Now, time box it. This is probably the most important step. Time box it, put about 10 minutes. Sit and just put down random ideas. Okay, so I have all these things to start with. Okay, how can I come up with a spaceship can move with what? With thrusters in space. Obviously, wheels will not work. Cars will not work because there's nothing to ground, so that won't work. Similarly, wiggling like a snake will not work because there's no ground. So what will work? Will it work? Will flying work? It can't because there's no air. So come up with more ideas, but okay, maybe light sails might work, right? Because there is light over there. Gravity might work. Something related to gravity might work. Maybe something related to magnets might work. I don't know, right? Put down all these ideas. Just random, put as many as you can, right? And then finally, do the third pillar or, third part, which is prioritization. Take all those areas and prioritize and figure out what works best. You can, hey, this definitely will not work. This feels too expensive. This, you don't have the materials for this. This requires some weird material that you only get in Wakanda, but Wakanda is a fantasy place. You obviously can't do this, right? So yeah, remove all the ones that won't work. Put something like, okay, this will take too much effort, this will take too much cost. Do some analysis, and finally prioritize and say, okay, this is the best idea that I'm going to use. So yeah, building the habit of using this process whenever you do your projects and whenever you want to be creative will basically build your creativity muscle.